Yue Fei was a Chinese military general, who lived during the Southern Song Dynasty, born on March 24, 1103, and died on January 28, 1142. He is considered a national hero of China, known for leading Southern Song forces in the wars against the Jocheon-ruled Jin dynasty in northern China. Yue Fei was put to death by the Southern Song government in 1142 under a concocted charge, after a negotiated peace was achieved with the Jocheons. He is depicted in the Wu Shuang Pu, a Chinese text featuring peerless heroes. Yue Fei's ancestral home was in Tangyin County, Anyang, Hunan, and he received most of his primary education from his father. In 1122, he joined the army and later became the general of the largest army near the central Yangtze. He is widely seen as a patriot and national folk hero in China. After his death, Yue Fei evolved into a paragon of loyalty in Chinese culture. He was granted the posthumous name Wamu and later the noble title King of Yi. Yue Fei's biography was written by his grandson, Yue Kai, 60 years after his death. The biography of Yue Fei is found in the 365th chapter of the History of Song. Yue Fei's biography is also the subject of the Chronicle of Yue, Prince of Yi of Song. The novel Shuo Yue Quanxuan provides a detailed fictional account of Yue's early life. According to the novel, Yue was adopted by the Wang family and became the student of Zhou Tong, who taught him literary lessons on odd days and military lessons, involving archery and the 18 weapons of war, on even days. After years of practice, Zhou Tong entered his students into the Tangyin County military examination, in which Yue Fei won first place by shooting a succession of 9 arrows through the bullseye of a target 240 paces away. After this display of archery, Yue was asked to marry the daughter of Li Chun, an old friend of Zhou and the county magistrate who presided over the military examination. However, Zhou soon died of an illness and Yue lived by his grave through the winter until his sworn brothers came and tore it down, forcing him to return home and take care of his mother. Yue eventually married and later participated in the imperial military examination in the Song capital of Kaifeng. There, he defeated all competitors and even turned down an offer from Kai Gui, the prince of Liang, to be richly rewarded if he forfeited his chance for the military degree. This angered the prince and both agreed to fight a private duel in which Yue killed the prince and was forced to flee the city for fear of being executed. Shortly thereafter, he joined the Song army to fight the invading armies of the Jocheon-ruled Jin dynasty. Yue Fei's mother writes Jin Zhong Bao Go on his back, as depicted in a Suzhou-style beam decoration at the Summer Palace, Beijing. Yue Fei's tattoo. According to historical records and legend, Yue had the 4 Chinese characters Jin Zhong Bao Go, traditional Chinese, simplified Chinese, pinyin, Jin Zhong Bao Go, lit. Serve the country with the utmost loyalty, tattooed across his back. The biography of Yue Fei says after Qin Hui sent agents to arrest Yue and his son, he was taken before the court and charged with treason, but Yue ripped his jacket to reveal the 4 tattooed characters of serve the country with the utmost loyalty on his back. This proved that he was clearly innocent of the charges. Later fictionalizations of Yue's biography would build upon the tattoo. For instance, one of his earliest Ming-era novels titled The Story of King Yue, who restored the Song dynasty, states that after the Jocheon armies invaded China, young heroes in Yue's village suggest that they join the bandits in the mountains. However, Yue objects and has one of them tattoo the aforementioned characters on his back. Whenever others want to join the bandits, he flashes them the tattoo to change their minds. The common legend of Yue receiving the tattoo from his mother first appeared in Shuo Yue Quanxuan, a historical novel. In chapter 21 titled By a Pretext Wang Zuo Swore Brotherhood, by tattoos Lady Yue instructed her son, Yue denounces the pirate chief Yang Yao and passes on a chance to become a general in his army. Yue Fei's mother then tells her son, I, your mother, saw that you did not accept recruitment of the rebellious traitor, and that you willingly endure poverty and are not tempted by wealth and status, but I fear that after my death, there may be some unworthy creature who will entice you. For these reasons, I want to tattoo on your back the 4 characters utmost, loyalty, serve and nation. The lady picked up the brush and wrote out on his spine the 4 characters for serving the nation with the utmost loyalty, so, she bit her teeth, and started pricking. Having finished, she painted the characters with ink mixed with vinegar so that the color would never fade. However, the truthfulness of this legend is disputed by modern historians. Documentation before the Qing dynasty record that Yue Fei had hired a tattoo artist to tattoo the 4 characters on his back. Such documentations appeared in Wamu Jingchong Xuan, a novel published in the Ming dynasty, while Shuo Yue Quanxuan was published in the Qing dynasty. The Kaifeng Jews, one of many pockets of Chinese Jews living in ancient China, refer to this tattoo in 2 of their 3 steel monuments created in 1489, 1512, and 1663. The first mention appeared in a section of the 1489 stele referring to the Jews' boundless loyalty to the country and prince. The second appeared in a section of the 1512 stele about how Jewish soldiers and officers in the Chinese armies were boundlessly loyal to the country. Adult life portrait: the 4 generals of the Restoration painted by Lu Songnian during the Southern Song Dynasty. Yue Fei is the second person from the left. Han Shizhong is 5th from the left and Zhang Jun is 4th from the left. Southern Song era artist Lu Songnian, who was best known for his realistic works, painted a picture, 4 generals of the Restoration. The group portrait shows 8 people, 4 generals and 4 attendants. Starting from the left: attendant, Yue Fei; attendant, Zhang Jun; Han Shizhong; attendant, Lu Guangxi; and attendant. According to history professor He Zhongli of Zhejiang University, the painting shows Yue was more of a scholarly-looking general with a shorter stature and chubbier build than the statue of him currently displayed in his tomb in Hangzhou, which portrays him as being tall and skinny. Shen Lixin, an official with the Yue Fei temple administration, holds the portrait of Yue Fei from the 4 generals of the Restoration to be the most accurate likeness of the general in existence. Character calligraphy written by Yue Fei in his From Myth to Myth, The Case of Yue Fei's Biography. Noted sinologist Helmut Wilhelm concluded that Yue Fei purposely patterned his life after famous Chinese heroes from dynasties past and that this ultimately led to his martyrdom. Apart from studying literature under his father Yue Fei loved to read military classics. He favored the Zhuo commentary on the Spring and Autumn Annals and the strategies of Sun Tzu and Wu Qi. Although his literacy afforded him the chance to become a scholar, which was a position held in much higher regard than the common soldiery during the Song Dynasty, Yue chose the military path because there had never been any tradition of civil service in his family. Therefore he had no reason to study Confucian classics in order to surpass the accomplishments of his ancestors or to raise his family's social status to the next level. His 4th-generation ancestor, Yue Huan, had served as a lingxia, essentially a low-level functionary, but he was never a full-fledged member of the civil service rank. A second theory is that he joined the military in the hopes of emulating his favorite heroes. Scholars were always welcome in Yue Fei's camp. He allowed them to come and tell stories and deeds of past heroes to bolster the resolve of his men. This way he was able to teach them about the warriors that he had constructed his own life after. He also hoped that one of these scholars would record his own deeds, so he would become a peer amongst his idols. He is recorded in saying that he wished to be considered the equal of Guan Yu and other such famous men from the Three Kingdoms period. Yue succeeded in this endeavor since later official mythology placed him on the same level as Guan Yu. Yue was careful to conduct himself as the ideal Confucian gentleman at all times for fear that any misconduct would be recorded and criticized by people of later dynasties. However, he had his faults. He had a problem with alcohol during the early part of his military career. Yue drank in great excess because he believed it fitted the image of heroes of old. However, once he nearly killed a colleague in a drunken rage, the emperor made him promise not to drink any more until the Jurchen invaders had been driven away. Family Yue Yun, Yue Fei's eldest son according to Shuo Yue Quanxuan, Yue had 5 sons and 1 daughter. The history of Song records that Yue Yun was adopted by Yue Fei at the age of 12, while others claim he was his biological son. Yue Lei, the second, succeeded to his father's post. Yue Ting was the 3rd. Yue Lin was the 4th. Yue Jun, the 5th, was still young at the time of his father's death. Yue Yinping was Yue Fei's daughter. The novel states, she committed suicide after her father's death and became a fairy in heaven. However, history books do not mention her name and therefore she should be considered a fictional character. Yue Fei married the daughter of Magistrate Li in 1119 when he was 16 years old. However, the account of his marriage is fictional. The biography of Yue Fei states that Yue left his ailing mother with his first wife while he went to fight the Jin armies. However, she left him, and his mother, and remarried. He later took a second wife and even discussed affairs pertaining to his military career with her. He truly loved her, but his affection for her was second to his desire to rid China of the Jurchen invaders. Her faithfulness to him and his mother was strengthened by the fear that any infidelity or lacking in her care of Lady Yue would result in reprisal. Yue forbade his sons from having concubines, although he almost took one himself. Even though she was presented by a friend, he did not accept her because she laughed when he asked her if she could share the hardships of camp life with him. He knew she was liberal and would have sex with the other soldiers. Though not mentioned in the memoir written by Yue Fei's grandson, some scholarly sources claim Yue had a younger brother named Yue Fan. He later served in the army under his brother and died in battle in 1132. Military records see also Jinsang Wars and Battle of Yancheng map showing the Song Jurchen Jin Wars with Yue Fei's northern expedition routes battles of Yancheng, Yingkang, and Saxiansen, which occurred during the last northern expedition led by Yue Fei, the son of an impoverished farmer from northern China. Yue Fei joined the Song military in 1122. Yue briefly left the army when his father died in 1123, but returned in 1126. After re-enlisting, he fought to suppress rebellions by local Chinese warlords responsible for looting in northern China. Local uprisings had diverted needed resources away from the Song's war against the Jin. Yue participated in defending Kaifeng during the second siege of the city by the Jin in 1127. After Kaifeng fell, he joined an army in Jiankang tasked with defending the Yangtze. This army prevented the Jurchens from advancing to the river in 1129. His rising reputation as a military leader attracted the attention of the Song court. In 1133, he was made the general of the largest army near the central Yangtze. Between 1134 and 1135, he led a counteroffensive against Qi, a puppet state supported by the Jin, and secured territories that had been conquered by the Jurchens. He continued to advance in rank, and to increase the size of his army, as he repeatedly led successful offensives into northern China. Several other generals were also successful against the Jin dynasty, and their combined efforts secured the survival of the Song dynasty. Yue, like most of them, was committed to recapturing northern China. According to Stone Lake, the poetry of Fan Chengde, Yue Fei repelled the enemy assaults in 1133 and 1134, until in 1135 the now confident Song army was in a position to recover all of North China from the Jin dynasty. In 1140, Yue Fei initiated a general counterattack against the Jin armies, defeating one enemy after another until he set up camp within range of the northern Song dynasty's old capital city, Kaifeng, in preparation for the final assault against the enemy. However, in the same year Qin Hui ordered Yue Fei to abandon his campaign, and in 1141 Yue Fei was summoned back to the southern Song capital. It is believed that the emperor then ordered Yue Fei to be hanged. 6 methods for deploying an army. Yue Fei's statue outside the Yue Fei temple in Hangzhou. Yue Ke states his grandfather had 6 special methods for deploying an army effectively. Careful selection. He relied more on small numbers of well-trained soldiers, than he did large masses of the poorly trained variety. In this way, one superior soldier counted for as much as 100 inferior soldiers. One example used to illustrate this was when the armies of Han Qing and Wusu were transferred into Yue's camp. Most of them had never seen battle and were generally too old or unhealthy for sustaining prolonged troop movement and engagement of the enemy. Once Yue had filtered out the weak soldiers and sent them home, he was only left with a meager 1,000 able-bodied soldiers. However, after some months of intense training, they were ready to perform almost as well as the soldiers who had served under Yue for years. Careful training when his troops were not on military campaigns to win back lost Chinese territory in the north, Yue put his men through intense training. Apart from troop movement and weapons drills, this training also involved them leaping over walls and crawling through moats in full battle garb. The intensity of the training was such that the men would not even try to visit their families if they passed by their homes while on movement and even trained on their days off. Justice in rewards and punishments, he rewarded his men for their merits and punished them for their boasting or lack of training. Yue once gave a foot soldier his own personal belt, silver dinnerware, and a promotion for his meritorious deeds in battle. While on the reverse, he once ordered his son Yue Yun to be decapitated for falling off his horse after failing to jump a moat. His son was only saved after Yue's officers begged his mercy. There were a number of soldiers that were either dismissed or executed because they boasted of their skills or failed to follow orders. Clear orders. He always delivered his orders in a simple manner that was easy for all of his soldiers to understand. Whoever failed to follow them were severely punished. Strict discipline while marching about the countryside, he never let his troops destroy fields or to pillage towns or villages. He made them pay a fair price for goods and made sure crops remained intact. A soldier once stole a hemp rope from a peasant so he could tie a bale of hay with it. When Yue discovered this, he questioned the soldier and had him executed. Close fellowship with his men, he treated all of his men like equals. He ate the same food as they did and slept out in the open as they did. Even when a temporary shelter was erected for him, he made sure several soldiers could find room to sleep inside before he found a spot of his own. When there was not enough wine to go around, he would dilute it with water so every soldier would receive a portion. Death front entrance to Yue Fei's tomb in Hangzhou. Imperial order to General Yue Fei, Emperor Zhezong of Song, National Palace Museum, Taipei in 1126, several years before Yue became a general. The Jokun-ruled Jin dynasty invaded northern China, forcing the Song dynasty out of its capital Kaifeng and capturing Emperor Kainzong of Song, who was sent into captivity in Huining Prefecture. This marked the end of the northern Song dynasty, and the beginning of the southern Song dynasty under Emperor Zhezong. Yue fought a long campaign against the invading Jokun in an effort to retake northern China. Just as he was threatening to attack and retake Kaifeng, officials advised Emperor Zhezong to recall Yue to the capital and sue for peace with the Jokun. Fearing that a defeat at Kaifeng might cause the Jokun to release Emperor Kainzong, threatening his claim to the throne, Emperor Zhezong followed their advice, sending 12 orders in the form of 12 gold plaques to Yue Fei, recalling him back to the capital. Knowing that a success at Kaifeng could lead to internal strife, Yue submitted to the emperor's orders and returned to the capital, where he was imprisoned and where Qin Hui would eventually arrange for him to be executed on false charges. There are conflicting views on how Yue died. According to the history of China and other sources, Yue died in prison. The Chronicle of Yue, Prince of Yi of Song, says he was killed in prison. Shuo Yue Quanxuan states, he was strangled to death. It reads, Yue Fei strode in long steps to the pavilion of winds and waves. The warders on both sides picked up the ropes and strangled the three men, Yue Fei, Yue Yun, and Zhang Shen, Yue's subordinate, without further ado. At the time Lord Yue was 39 years of age and the young Lord Yue Yun 23. When the three men returned to heaven, suddenly a fierce wind rose up wildly, and all the fires and lights were extinguished. Black mists filled the sky and sand and pebbles were blown about. The Secrets of Eagle Claw Kung Fu comments, finally, Yue Fei received the 12th Golden Edict from the Emperor calling him back to the capital, which if ignored meant banishment. Patriotism demanded that he obey. On his way back to the capital he stopped to rest at a pavilion. Qin Hui anticipated Yue Fei's route and sent some men to lie in wait. When Yue Fei arrived, Qin's men ambushed and murdered him. Just 39 years old, Yue Fei, like many good men in history, had a swift, brilliant career, then died brutally while still young. According to a Chinese biographical dictionary, father and son had not been 2 months in confinement when Qin Hui resolved to rid himself of his enemy. He wrote out with his own hand an order for the execution of Yue Fei, which was forthwith carried into effect, whereupon he immediately reported that Yue Fei had died in prison, which meant that Qin Hui had Yue and his son executed but reported they both died in captivity. Other sources say he was poisoned to death. Still, a great number simply say he was executed, murdered, or treacherously assassinated. After Yue's execution, a prison officer, Wei Shun, who admired Yue's character, stole his body and secretly buried it at the Nine Song Kong Temple located outside the Song capital. Qin Hui's posthumous punishment. Shuo Yue Quanxian states, after having Yue Fei, Yue Yun, Jiang Shen arrested under false charges, Qin Hui and his wife, Lady Wang, were sitting by the eastern window, warming themselves by the fire, when he received a letter from the people calling for the release of Yue Fei. Qin was worried because after nearly 2 months of torture, he could not get Yue to admit to treason, and would eventually have to let him go. However, after a servant girl brought fresh oranges into the room, Lady Wang devised a plan to execute Yue. She told Qin to slip an execution notice inside the skin of an orange and send it to the judge presiding over Yue's case. This way, Yue and his companions would be put to death before the emperor or Qin himself would have to rescind an open order of execution. This conspiracy became known as the East Window Plot. A novel about this incident, titled Gong Xuanji, was written during the Ming Dynasty by an anonymous writer. When confronted by Han Shizhong on what crime Yue had committed, Qin Hui replied, "Though it isn't sure whether there is something that he did to betray the dynasty, maybe there is." The phrase "perhaps there is, no reason needed, groundless, or baseless" has entered the Chinese language as a proverb to refer to fabricated charges. Decades later, his grandson, Yue Kai, had retrieved documentary evidence of his grandfather's achievements, and published an adulatory biography of him. In 1162, Emperor Zhaozong of Song posthumously dissolved his unjust charges and rehabilitated his honors. For their part in Yue's death, iron statues of Qin Hui, Lady Wang, and 2 of Qin's subordinates, Mo Qixie and Zhang Jun, were made to kneel before Yue Fei's tomb. For centuries, these statues were cursed, spat on, and urinated upon by people. The original castings in bronze were damaged, but later were replaced by images cast in iron, but these were similarly damaged. However, now, in modern times, these statues are protected as historical relics. There is a poem hanging on the gates surrounding the statues that reads, "The green hill is fortunate to be the burial ground of a loyal general, the white iron was innocent to be cast into the statues of traitors." Emperor Zhaozong's court gave proper burial to his remains after Wei Shun's family revealed its location. Wei Shun was then posthumously honored at Yue Fei's hometown at Tangyin County, and a statue of him was made standing at its Yue Fei temple. A tomb was put up in his memory, and he was designated Wamo. In 1179 he was canonized as Songwu. Statues of Lady Wang and Qin Hui at the Yue Fei temple, Hangzhou statues of Mo Qixie and Zhang Jun at the Yue Fei temple, Hangzhou map of the West Lake with the location of the temple of Yue Fei talents martial arts, see also, military and civilian combat arts of Jiutong. The 2 styles most associated with Yue are Eagle Claw and Xingyikan. One book states Yue created Eagle Claw for his enlisted soldiers and Xingyikan for his officers. Legend has it that Yue studied in the Shaolin monastery with a monk named Zhou Tong and learned the elephant style of boxing, a set of hand techniques with great emphasis on Qi Na. Other tales say he learned this style elsewhere outside the temple under the same master. Yue eventually expanded elephant style to create the Yibai Lingba Qi Na of the Ying Sao or Ying Quen of the Ying Sao or Ying Quen. After becoming a general in the imperial army, Yue taught this style to his men and they were very successful in battle against the armies of the Jin dynasty. Following his wrongful execution, and the disbandment of his armies, Yue's men supposedly traveled all over China spreading the style, which eventually ended right back in Shaolin where it began. Later, a monk named Li Quan combined this style with Fanzikan, another style attributed to Yue, to create the modern-day form of Northern Ying Jiao Pei boxing. According to legend, Yue combined his knowledge of internal martial arts and spear play learned from Zhou Tong to create the linear fist attacks of Xingyikan. One book claims he studied and synthesized Buddhism's tendon-changing and marrow-washing Qigong systems to create Xingyikan. On the contrary, proponents of Wudankan believe it is possible that Yue learned the style in the Wudang Mountains that border his home province of Hunan. The reasons they cite for this conclusion are that he supposedly lived around the same time and place as Jiang Sanfeng, the founder of Tai Chi. Xingyikan's 5 fist attacks, which are based on the 5 Chinese elements theory, are similar to Tai Chi's yin-yang theory, and both theories are Taoist-based and not Buddhist. The book Hunan Orthodox Xingyikan, written by Pei Zirong and Li Yinggang, states Xingyikan master Dai Longbang wrote the preface to 6 Harmonies Boxing in the 15th reign year of the Qianlong Emperor. Inside it says, When Yue Fei was a child, he received special instructions from Zhou Tong. He became extremely skilled in the spear method. He used the spear to create methods for the fist. He established a method called Yiquan. Mysterious and unfathomable, followers of old did not have these skills. Throughout the Jin, Yuan and Ming dynasties few had his art. Only Ji Gong had it. The man Ji Gong mentioned above, better known as Ji Jike or Ji Longfeng, is said to have trained in Shaolin Monastery for 10 years as a young man and was matchless with the spear. As the story goes, he later traveled to Zongju Cave on Mount Yonnan to receive a boxing manual written by Yue Fei, from which he learned Xingyikan. However, some believe Ji actually created the style himself and attributed it to Yue Fei because he was fighting the Manchus, descendants of the Jokans who Yue had struggled against. Ji supposedly created it after watching a battle between an eagle and a bear during the Ming dynasty. Other sources say he created it while training in Shaolin. He was reading a book and looked up to see 2 roosters fighting, which inspired him to imitate the fighting styles of animals. Both versions of the story state he continued to study the actions of animals and eventually increased the cadre of animal forms. Several other martial arts have been attributed to Yue Fei, including Yujiaquan, Fanzikan, and Chaojiaquan. The Fonza boxing ballad says, Wamu has passed down the Fanzikan which has mystery in its straightforward movements. Wamu was a posthumous name given to Yue after his death. One Chaojiao legend states Zhou Tong learned the style from its creator, a wandering Taoist named Deng Liang, and later passed it on to Yue Fei, who is considered to be the progenitor of the style. Besides martial arts, Yue is also said to have studied traditional Chinese medicine. He understood the essence of Huatuo's Wu Qin Zai and created his own form of medical Qigong known as the Ba Duan Jin. He taught this Qigong to his soldiers to help keep their bodies strong and well prepared for battle. One legend states that Zhou Tong took young Yue to meet a Buddhist hermit who taught him Ma Dapeng Qigong. His training in Dapeng Qigong was the source of his great strength and martial arts abilities. Modern practitioners of this style say it was passed down by Yue. Connection to praying mantis boxing. According to Shuo Yue, Huan, Lin Chong and Lu Juni of the 108 Outlaws in Water Margin were former students of Yue's teacher Zhou Tong. One legend states Zhou learned Chaojiao boxing from its originator Deng Liang and then passed it on to Yue Fei, who is sometimes considered the progenitor of the style. Chaojiao is also known as the Water Margin Outlaw style and Yuanyang Tui. In chapter 29 of Water Margin, titled Wu Song beats Jiang the Door God in a drunken stupor, it mentions Wu Song, another of Zhou's fictional students, using the jade circle steps with duck and drake feet. A famous folklore praying mantis manuscript, which describes the fictional gathering of 18 martial arts masters in Shaolin, lists Lin Chong as a master of Mandarin duck's kicking technique. This creates a folklore connection between Yue and mantis boxing. Lineage mantis master Yuan Man Kai openly claims Zhou Tong taught Lin Chong and Lu Juni the same school of martial arts that was later combined with the aforementioned 17 other schools to create Mantis Fist. However, he believes Mantis Fist was created during the Ming Dynasty, and was therefore influenced by these 18 schools from the Song Dynasty. He also says Lu Juni taught Yan Qing the same martial arts as he learned from Zhou Tong. Yuan further comments that Zhou Tong later taught Yue Fei the same martial art and that Yue was the originator of the mantis move Black Tiger Stealing Heart. Poetry. At the age of 30, Yue supposedly wrote his most celebrated poem, Manjiang Hong, with a subtitle of Shay Wai. This poem reflects the raw hatred he felt towards the Jiochen-ruled Jin dynasty, as well as the sorrow he felt when his efforts to recoup northern lands lost to Jin were halted by southern Song officials of the peace faction. However, several modern historians, including the late Princeton University professor James T.C. Liu, believe certain phrasing in the poem dates its creation to the early 16th century, meaning Yue did not write it. Yue Fei is also the author of at least 2 other poems, Xiao Chongshan and another Manjiang Hong with the subtitle of Deng Huanghe Liu Gan. Descendants. Among Yue Fei's descendants was Yue Shenglong and his son the Qing dynasty official Yue Hongqi, who served as Minister of Defense and Governor-General of Shanxi and Gansu provinces during the reign of the Yongzheng Emperor. Yue Hongqi conquered Tibet for the Qing during the Dzunga-Qing War and attacked the Dzungars at Urumqi in Xinjiang. The Oirats were battled against by Yue Hongqi. Yue Hongqi lived at the Ji Ziolan residence. Another notable descendant of Yue Fei was Yue Yiqin, a flying ace of the Republic of China during the Second Sino-Japanese War. In 2011, 2 Yue descendants, Yue Jun and Yue Haijin, with 6 members of their clan, protested Jiangning Imperial Silk Manufacturing Museum's Qin Hui statue, which indicates that even after centuries, the Yue family still hates Qin Hui and his conspirators for their ancestors' plight. It has been reported that male members of the Yue family were not allowed to marry anyone whose surname was Qin until 1949, and genealogical records attest that this rule was rarely broken prior to its nullification. In 2017, it was reported that there were 1.81 million descendants of Yue Fei in China, and the number of Yue Fei's descendants in Anhui alone has grown to more than 1,003,000. Folk hero statue of Yue Fei inside the grounds of Yue Fei's tomb and shrine in Hangzhou from the 4 generals of the Restoration painted by Lu Songnian in 1214, 72 years after the death of Yue Fei. Yue Fei's stature in Chinese history rose to that of a national folk hero after his execution. Qin Hui, and in some cases Emperor Jiezong, were blamed by later historians for their supposed role in Yue Fei's execution and conciliatory stance with the Jin dynasty. The allegations that Qin Hui conspired with the Jin to execute Yue Fei are popular in Chinese literature, but have never been proven. The real Yue Fei differed from the later myths that grew from his exploits. The portrayal of Yue, as a scholar general, is only partially true. He was a skilled general, and may have been partially literate in classical Chinese, but he was not an erudite Confucian scholar. Contrary to traditional legends, Yue was not the sole Chinese general engaged in the offensive against the Jiochens. He was one of many generals that fought against the Jin in northern China, and unlike Yue Fei, some of his peers were genuine members of the scholarly elite. Many of the exaggerations of Yue Fei's life can be traced to a biography written by his grandson, Yue Kai. Yue Fei's status as a folk hero strengthened in the Yuan dynasty and had a large impact on Chinese culture. Temples and shrines devoted to Yue Fei were constructed in the Ming dynasty. A Chinese World War II anthem alludes to lyrics said to have been written by Yue Fei. He also sometimes appears as a door god in partnership with the deity Wen Tai Bao. At certain points in time, Yue Fei ceased to be a national hero, such as in 2002, when the official guidelines for history teachers said that he could no longer carry the title. This was because Yue Fei had defended China from the Jokun people, who are presently considered to be a part of the Chinese nation. Therefore, concern for the unity of nationalities in China prevailed, as Yue Fei was seen as representing only one subgroup within China, and not the entire Chinese nation as presently defined. However, both the Chinese Ministry of Education and the Minister of Defense deny such claims and still clearly address Yue Fei as a national hero of China. The Chinese Communist Party also continues to treat Yue Fei as a national hero of China. Modern references the ROX Yue Fei, a Chengkung-class guided missile frigate of the Republic of China Navy, is named after Yue. The author Guy Gavriel Kay cites Yue Fei as having inspired the character Ren Daiyan in his novel River of Stars, which is set in a fantasy world based on Song Dynasty China. Yue Fei is one of the 32 historical figures who appear as special characters in the video game Romance of the Three Kingdoms 11 by Koei.